everyone, this is Tom. It's just a quick update on the trash bag. When I did the video this last weekend, so it's only been 3 days ago, I put in a bunch of new cardboard and a whole bunch of bedding. I put in 4 or 5 gallons of bedding on top of it. And I'd mentioned that I may do kind of a midweek check on it and just see what it looks like. So, I mean, it's only been 3 days, but I'm curious. I kind of want to open this up and take a peek into it and see what the worms are doing with the bedding and the cardboard that I put in there. So here's the bubble wrap. I can already tell, I can actually see worms right through the bubble wrap. It's kind of a, if you look at the color of that bubble wrap, it looks kind of a purple color or a brownish purple, whatever. Let's take a look underneath it. Yeah, the worms are everywhere, just spread out through this bedding. Dig down just a little bit and see what they're like underneath. The size of some of these suckers, I mean, really nice worms. Let's see, that's the cardboard right there, and the worms are everywhere, even in that cardboard underneath. I'll go ahead and churn up a little bit here. Yeah, these worms are liking it. I mean, they're working on the cardboard, they're mixed everywhere in there. And I think a key on this is, I had the trouble that first couple times that I put cardboard in here, because when I initially did this, I put dry cardboard in here. And that dry cardboard really sucked all the moisture out of my system. I mean, the system was really, really dry throughout the bin. So I had to add, at that time, I added a bunch of water for a couple days in a row until I actually had a little bit of water coming out the bottom. And then from then on now, I always take my cardboard and I just soak it in a bucket of water. Whatever it is, the cereal boxes, you know, I rip it in large chunks and throw it in there, stuff it in there, get it nice and wet and throw it in. And again, if you're running a VermiBag, don't worry so much about being too wet. VermiBags can handle an awful lot of moisture. They can dry out very quickly if they're too wet. I mean, just by not feeding them and not adding water to them, they'll recover very quickly if the system's too wet. But the top of my systems here, if I was to squeeze this, I'm not going to squeeze it because I would kill a couple worms, but if I was to squeeze this right now, I would definitely get several drops of water out of it. It's a little bit wetter than a wrung out sponge. I mean, it is pretty moist up here on the top. I mean, half of it's just because the worms feel so wet. But so this system is doing really well, but the system I'm running it very moist on the top. I'm still going to be very curious at the end of this thing, once all this cardboard gets down to the bottom, how much of it's left there when we do the harvest. You know, and if there's some left, it's no big deal at all. I mean, we'll just take that cardboard and throw it right back into the top of the system after I sift it out. But it's going to be interesting to see how well this stuff is processed after it goes through the full depth of the VermiBag Max. And I think probably on the next harvest, which will probably be in about 3 weeks, we'll have a pretty good idea of what it's going to be like, because I think I'm going to be into those areas where the worm, or where the cardboard was. But yeah, I'm real impressed with this system. I'm real impressed with the worms. And I'm thinking these African night crawlers seem to really thrive on carbon sources. You figure this top layer that they're in right now is just strictly cardboard, big chunks of cardboard that I put in, 3 days ago. And then my bedding, which is basically just shredded paper, micro shredded paper, some shredded cardboard, some shredded newspaper, and a bunch of coffee grounds. A few other things. I throw in some oyster shell dust from time to time. It varies slightly. But so this top section is strictly carbon for the most part, except for the coffee grounds. And even though underneath this layer there was a big layer of food from the previous week, and they actually came out of that food layer and came up into this fresh carbon. So that does say something about how much I think African night crawlers like carbon. So that's about it. I'll do another update on this hopefully this next weekend, and we'll take a look at it and see what it looks like. This is Tom from VermiBag. Till next time, ciao.